Okay, this is Apple's thinnest iPhone ever, the iPhone Air. We all expected the battery to be terrible on this thing, and Apple only promising all-day battery life at the event doesn't exactly scream confidence. But then I looked closer, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that apparently it matches the battery life of the iPhone 16 Pro. Turns out I've grabbed a brand new one, so we can test both iPhones side by side and find out if Apple's telling the truth or if it's all just hot air. And this matchup couldn't be more fitting, because price-wise, the Air is literally stepping into the place of last year's 16 Pro with the same $1,000 price tag. So let's unplug, and since we're testing for all-day battery life, the day starts exactly how it should. Some scrolling in bed. Now, there are really only two levers phone companies can pull to stretch battery life. Pack in a bigger or more advanced battery, or let the phone use less power. Well, for the Air, it's definitely not a bigger battery. It sits at just 3,149 milliamp hours, much less than the 16 Pro, which comes in at 3,582. And as far as we know, there's no new breakthrough chemistry in here either. So they had to do the latter, make the phone more power efficient, which gives the Air a few big wins, but also some red flags. That said, the second you take the iPhone Air out of its box, it's hard not to be impressed. A screen this big and something this thin and light feels kind of absurd. And this shiny silver frame and white back glass honestly reminds me a lot of the iPhone X. Well, if it went on Ozempic. Speaking of which, that's enough social media for this morning. And after just 45 minutes, the Air is actually leading the way, with 94% still in the tank. This could be more interesting than I thought. Okay, let's see if these phones can handle leg day. And just FYI, to keep things fair, both iPhones are obviously in the same room at constant room temperature. They have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on, but no SIM card inside because signal strength varies way too much. So this keeps both iPhones on a level playing field. Plus, they're brand new and on iOS 26. Oh, and they each get exactly 64 notifications during the test. But the point being, this won't tell you how many hours you can squeeze out of this phone every day, but rather how the Air compares to a phone with already proven great battery life. And here's the thing, when you hold the Air, you're basically just holding a thin battery pack. The entire body is pretty much just battery. So where's the actual phone then, you might ask? Well, it's all in the camera bump. Oh, sorry, the camera plateau, as they suddenly like to call it. And it's crazy to think about. They stuffed nearly all other components in there, including the new A19 Pro chip, essentially the same one as in the new iPhone 17 Pro. Well, almost. Here's where we get to the trade-offs. Oh, and I had the weirdest bug while doing the battery test. It somehow didn't want to leave the fitness app, but yeah, again, the Air is 3% ahead of the 16 Pro. Okay, back to the chip. The A19 Pro, same as in the iPhone 17 Pro, just with one GPU core disabled. Does that matter? Probably not, but here's the thing. You'd expect this Pro chip to burn more energy than, say, the regular A19 chip in the iPhone 17, right? Well, Apple says the opposite. The A19 Pro should be both faster and more efficient. One reason might be that the efficiency cores now have 50% more cache. Think of it like this. Cache is a notepad on your desk. RAM is a giant whiteboard across the room. When the notepad gets bigger, you walk to the whiteboard less, which saves both time and energy. So is the Air just as powerful then as the Pro? Glad you asked. And it's not that simple, because the 17 Pro has one big advantage. In cooling, with well, more space inside, its new vapor chamber, and full body aluminum enclosure to dissipate heat. The Air lacks all of that, plus comes with glass on the back, which sucks at getting rid of heat. This can both throttle performance and potentially affect battery life. And speaking of heat, this exact heat will make this race more dramatic than I thought. For now though, after almost 2 hours, the gap remains completely unchanged. Let's see what YouTube does to the boys. But here's where it gets interesting, because the A19 Pro wasn't Apple's only new chip they packed inside. There are actually two more. and both can end up completely changing future iPhones. For starters, there's the brand new N1, a new networking chip that enables Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and thread networking. In reality, Apple says this should improve AirDrop and personal hotspot reliability. Let's hope they're right. But that's not the interesting one. It's baked into all iPhone 17s. What's exclusive to the Air is the C1X, Apple's second-gen 5G modem that first showed up in the iPhone 16e back in spring. Apple says it's now faster than the non-Apple one in the 16 Pro, whilst using 30% less power. Oh, and also it's eSIM only, so more physical space for the battery. Another reason for this result right now. After 2.5 hours, 74% on the Air and 71% on the Pro. Oh, and I'm not proud of what comes next, but here we are. Now, when gaming, you can really appreciate the Air's display because power efficiency also comes from the screen. The Air has a 120Hz ProMotion display, just like all iPhone 17s. The point being, when the content needs it, the screen refreshes 120 times per second. But when it doesn't, it can go down to just 10 times, saving that precious battery life. Plus, this also means the Air has an always-on display, which takes it down to just a single hertz. I was half expecting Apple to cut that from the Air, but thankfully they didn't. Now, once I'm done with breaking my record in Subway Surfers, let's shoot some photos and videos, because this is where we hit what might be the Air's biggest red flag, but at the same time, its strongest feature. I know you want the good news first, so this front-facing camera is absolutely nuts. It's now equipped with center stage, although that naming doesn't do it justice. It's an ultra-wide sensor with now 18 megapixels instead of the 12 we've had before. Plus, the sensor is now square, so it can shoot both portrait selfies and landscape without having to turn the phone. Oh, and the frame actually automatically crops in or out depending on how many people are in your shot. Oh, and you can see both phones slightly dimming now, but that's expected, although it's a bit more disappointing for the Pro phone. The bad news, you ask? Well, we only have a single camera lens on the back. And Apple went all out explaining that it's actually 2 camera lenses in one. And sure, you do get that clean 2x crop without taking a hit on quality. But there's still a lot missing. Stuff you get on the $200 cheaper base iPhone 17. There's no ultra-wide lens, and that's not just about wide shots. That lens also gives us macro mode, which I really miss, and no spatial video, since you need 2 lenses for that. And then there's no cinematic mode either, which is weird because I thought that was just processing, especially since this phone has next-gen portrait mode. Okay, that half an hour of video recording drained both batteries down 20%. But again, the gap between both remains unchanged. Alright, party time. Let's fire up some music. And this is where things get a bit strange. You see, iPhones have had stereo sound since the iPhone 7, a decade ago, meaning 2 physical speakers, top and bottom, not on the Air. There's only 1 speaker up top in the earpiece. The grills at the bottom are just microphones. Now, you can easily find out how that sounds without even touching the iPhone Air. Just cover up your bottom iPhone speaker with a finger, and that's basically how the Air sounds. Maybe 10% better. It's still quite good for a phone speaker, but as expected, it's nothing impressive and far behind the Pro speakers. And again, if you were watching closely, you could see some automatic dimming while playing the music. But this time, just on the Pro, not on the Air. And it wasn't just once, it kept happening. Plus, when I checked, the Pro was running super hot while the Air stayed much cooler. Completely the opposite of what I expected. Although, I've been daily driving a 16 Pro for a year and I've seen it overheat a lot. So I feel like with the 17 Pro and its vapor chamber, this test should be a whole different story. And nothing eats battery quicker than a video call. It uses literally all parts of your iPhone. And just as expected, we've reached that precious 20% mark. And it seems like the 16 Pro will die very soon, whilst no way, the Air could take it home. Alright, some light reading, and then let's end the day the same way it started, with an Instagram Reel session in bed. At this point, both phones are basically gasping for air, pun intended. And here's where you realize the number on the battery icon doesn't always tell the full story, because I didn't see this coming. In the final stretch, the Pro is draining way slower now. That's the first time since they were both fully charged up that they're showing the exact same percentage again. Until now, the Air is finally falling behind. No way. And some final dimming, and it's gone. 6 hours and 25 minutes. And we literally pushed this iPhone to the max, non-stop. Okay, at this point the Pro is just flexing. I mean, this final 1%, it always feels like 10. Oh, and we've also got that last cry for help there, and goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, 6 hours and 34 minutes. I'd call this a near tie. And if you add in the Air's new 5G modem that sips less power on mobile data, it might even do better outside of my stuffy studio. So yeah, for something this slim, I think that's seriously impressive. Catch you in the next one.